Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today, we are going to be going over something that's been very pressing and been on my mind for a very long amount of time. And it's because a lot of times people aren't really addressing and assessing the internal within inside of them. So I feel like I want to break that down for you guys. It's been something on my mind and something that I've been personally working through as well. But before we get into that, 42 people passed their exam in the last 2 weeks, and it blows my mind. I'm so excited because a lot of these people, they walked in and they killed it. They're getting to where they want to go, but before then, they were telling themselves, man, I'm not really sure if I had what I needed to when I walked into the exam. The exam is going to get me. The exam is going to kill me. I'm going to fail again. I'm not really sure I have what it takes. They walked in, believed in themselves, trust themselves, let go of everything else, and killed the game. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that reaches out to me, that's repping and rocking with me, and allowing me to be a part of their prep, because it allows other people to be able to say, I can do this as well. From the bottom of my heart, guys, I appreciate every single one of you. So let's see who the 42 people are that passed their exams in the last 2 weeks, and they are as follows. We have Denise J, we have Fabiola D, Beth T, Carla O, Nee A, Angelina F, Lovelita M, Mary L, Ashley R, Liz C, Bree D, Jordan B, Pat B, Shanika M, Karen P, Carietta M, Amanda B, Cassidy K, Jennifer W, Stella T, Alexandria D.E., Mazel H, Mariah T, Kiana, Erica I, J.T., Malene M, Amber M, Melanie L, Pama L, Darjane N, Jackie R, Melinda M, Shireen R, Kathy M, Louise H, Danielle L, Mackenzie L, Christy R, Allie K, Selma R, Ashley H, and Carrie W.
Ah! I passed. Yes! Thank you so much, Phil.
I'm so excited, man, because every single person walks in, kills the game, gets the job done. If you want to let me know that you passed the exam while repping and rocking with me, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And you're like, Phil, I want to rep and rock with you as well. There's many ways to get a hold of me, many ways to jump in and benefit and utilize the techniques and strategies that I recommend for people to walk into the exam and kill it. The easiest way to do so is the Sunday study groups, and the next Sunday study groups are as follows. We have 9-6 practice questions. So this is where we're going to be walking through practice questions, ripping and tearing through them, breaking them up, going over the 5-step process that I recommend, as well as applying the acronym to those questions to see what they can look like. And a lot of times people that attend those practice questions groups, they don't really like me in particular because my questions tend to be pretty tricky, but I would rather give people tricky questions rather than them to walk into the exam and get tricked by those questions. 9-13, client interventions. 9-20, research, program development, and program evaluation. 9-27, meds and DSM-5. So we're looking at the medications, comparing them to the diagnosis that we could likely see, and easy ways to remember both of those. 10-4, diversity and stages of treatment, and then 10-11, substance use and stages of change. And all of those at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays. So every single Sunday. And if you want any information for those, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com or click the link in the description. And the description is the information underneath the title of the video. And the most difficult way to get in touch with me is individual tutoring. I still do offer individual tutoring, but my schedule tends to book out like 4 to 6 weeks in advance. So if you want assistance from me, make sure you kind of reach out in advance, because I feel bad telling people, yo, I can't really help you at this given moment. But if you want to schedule a tutoring session, the schedule will be in the description as well, or send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And for those that wanted to get into the one-day prep in August, I am doing one in September. It is probably one of the most requested things. Why? Because it is showing the most amount of people passing. Most people that are walking into that are used to going to one-day courses. They're going super fast. They're not really providing a lot of information that could be helpful. They don't really have a recording after them. I try to mitigate all of that by, one, I go at a reasonable pace. I go over topics that I feel could be most helpful for people to pass the exam, reasons why people have failed the exam. I go over tricky topics, subpoena versus court order, community interventions, personality disorders, medications, the acronym, the 5-step process that I recommend to break down questions, and then we cut up and slice up 25 practice questions. So that is going to be in September. And since September wants to rob a Saturday from us, because there's not that many, it is going to be on 9/26 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and that is going to go likely until 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But for those that were in the August study group, my times are just like recommendations, if you will, because we got out of there at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, but it's entirely recorded. If you're not able to go to my Sunday study groups live or the one-day courses live, I record them, so it is able to access the materials even if you don't attend live. And if you're like, my exam's before 9/26, that's okay, because you can always request the recording that I did in August or the one I did in July as well, or the one I did in June, depending on which one you want. That's totally fine. Doesn't really bother me. But if you want any information for that, the link for that will also be in the description, or you can send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And for those that do not know, Audible has agreed to partner with me on my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial. Get yourself a free book. And for those that keep asking me, I do not have anything on Audible. I think it'd be really cool one day to become an author, but I have a lot of things going on in my life right now, so I don't really have time to write a book. But there are other authors that I would recommend. And for those that are like, Phil, I really want to support you on Audible, but I have no clue what Audible is. Audible is an easy way for you to get knowledge on the go via audiobooks. So if you're busy just like me and you have 100 bajillion things going on, you can get on your cell phone or get on your computer, whatever you would like to do, tablet, and then you can go to Audible, listen to the books in your headphones on your morning walk, at work, on a break, anything like that. So it's a super duper easy way to help advance yourself while still having a busy lifestyle in some way, shape, or form. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. And if you're like, Phil, what books are you currently recommending at this given moment? And each of these have different lessons and ways to help you progress, whether in your personal life, in your professional life, in your clinical life. And they are as follows: The Body Keeps the Score, The Alchemist, and Undisputed Truth. And Undisputed Truth's a new one. It is the book that Mike Tyson wrote about his life. He has a very, very interesting life. But I'm a person that likes to observe people that have been through a lot of things and how they overcame it. Because for those that know me, I had to overcome quite a bit to get to where I'm at. But just hearing those stories is super duper awesome. And from the bottom of my heart, I support everything that you guys have done, and I appreciate all the support that you guys show me. So Audible is an easy way for you to give back to me. And if you did not know, I have a Facebook page. You can go to that at Fill in the Gaps. I tend to post the most up-to-date study groups, all my videos, and just little updates that I have going on with and for my situation. As well as I have a podcast, if you guys did not know. You can search it on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify, and it's at Fill in the Gaps as well. A lot of good information on those as well. And if you want to just keep repping and rocking with me, that's another way to keep up with everything that I'm doing as well. And if you've been liking the videos that I've been putting out, it really, really helps me if you can click the thumbs up button down below, because it allows for other social workers and other people to be able to identify my videos, as well as leave a comment down below, provide some positivity, because I'm going to be spouting off a lot of positivity and motivation in this video. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff that I'm currently struggling with in my life, and every time that I can allow for you guys to learn from what I'm going through, I'm going to try throwing as much as I possibly can, because a lot of people learn from a lot of the things that I say, or they're like, Phil, you're always pumped up, you're always motivated, and you're always going through a lot of stuff. But that's the way that I can try to give back to you guys in some way, shape, or form. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. But let's get into the topic for today, guys. And a lot of times and a lot of emails that I'm getting this week are, Phil, I don't think I'm at where I'm supposed to be. I've been failing the exam. Am I really supposed to be a social worker? Man, I have a lot going on in my life, or I have a lot of these things. I'm not getting as many things right as I want to. And the first thing that I need to say is, are you being too rigid or are you being too fluid? And why am I introducing rigidity and fluidity into this situation, because if you are being too rigid with yourself, you are going to lead to you burning yourself out or having expectations for your situation that may not entirely be possible. And what do I mean by that? Because at the end of the day, we have a lot of things that we have to do, a lot of things that we're balancing. Maybe your schedule doesn't warrant you to be able to study. Maybe your schedule doesn't warrant you to be able to answer as many questions or have the focus or have the energy that you would like to see with and for your situation. So if you are too rigid with yourself, such as this pen is a rigid thing. If I were to put pressure on this pen, it is going to break, and it is not ever going to be the same. And why am I introducing this? Because when you are too rigid with yourself and have expectations that may be too high or are not possible with and for your situation due to the circumstances, you may feel whole still, but you will never be able to get back to where you once were. So if you want to have another imagery within this, if you picture a stone or a statue, when put under great force and great pressure, it is going to form cracks in it, just like when in your prep. When you put too much pressure on yourself, or you are put into a stressful situation and you are too rigid with yourself, you are then going to lead to you breaking or not being able to be the best possible version of yourself, because you're going to have holes in your prep, you're going to have holes in your life, you're going to have holes in your relationships. So if you are being too rigid with yourself, you are then going to cause yourself to crack and not be able to get to where you want to go. On the other end, fluidity, if it is too fluid, you are going to have floods and waters all over your life, and you're not going to have too much structure, and you're going to be willy-nilly with it and not really going to be able to commit to things in any way, shape, or form. So what is the version that I recommend? I recommend that people have a fluid style with the ability to adapt and overcome anything that comes through it. So what do I mean by that? So picture a body of water right now. And if I were to throw a stone in that body of water, what would happen? You're going to see rings going out of it. So that body of water is going to be disturbed by that stone going into it. However, over time, it is then going to level itself back out and keep flowing in the direction that it needs to. And what does that represent for a lot of people? That may be that you put everything that you had into preparing for the exam, you walk in and you do not pass. If you are taking it as if that you are that stone slab, that failure could crack your preparation or crack your self-esteem or crack your entire lifestyle open, and then you are going to be exposed to the weather, and when the storms come, you are openly going to crack and break and never be the same thing and may never get to the best possible version of yourself. However, that body of water, if we want to get even more deep into this situation, that stone is going to go to the bottom of the river, and over time, the river is going to weather it to nothing, so that problem is going to exist, but that body of water has been able to adapt and overcome that. So what does that look like? You may walk in, fail the exam, and in your mind, you're like, this is the best thing that could possibly ever have happened to me at this moment. And for you that are listening to me, you're like, Phil, are you like going crazy right now? How could failing the exam lead me to a better situation? Or how's that the best possible situation? It's because you went in, gave everything you had, you did not get the result that you wanted to, but you were closer to passing the exam than you have ever been. Why? Because you went in there, you practiced a routine, you got yourself to the situation, you went through a stressful situation, and you are willing to learn and build yourself up. Way too many times people say, I'm ashamed, Phil, how many times I've had to take this exam, or I feel less than based on the fact that I don't feel that I can get to where I need to go based on everyone else around me doing that. Which leads me to my second point: extremes are bad. Too much fluidity causes you to never have a plan. I hear that all the time. Phil, I don't even have an exam date scheduled. I don't think I'm going to schedule one until I feel quote unquote ready, which is the most subjective measure of whether you're ready or not. Because you could hear a concept or someone could tell you a piece of information that you don't understand. You in your heart are going to say, I'm not ready. And then you start second guessing yourself on questions. You start adding details into the question. You start taking the feedback from the people in your life that have passed, and then you start throwing away everything you've done. So then over time, you're not even going to be able to understand where you're supposed to go. So you have a flood and natural disaster in your life right now. So you do not need to be flooded or buried under information, suggestions, or concepts. You need to be able to shed all the things that are not helpful for you and walk into the gift that you know is destined for you. So less is always more in this situation. So if you fail an exam and your initial thought is, I need to get another prep program or I need to get another approach, then you shouldn't have done the first approach in general because you didn't have confidence in it. Because if you're willing to throw something away after one attempt, you're not going to succeed in that attempt ever again because you're going to lose the faith in that attempt that you would have had otherwise. So that is why I always tell people, do not take the feedback from other people to heart if it's not actually going to work for you. And a lot of times people are like, Phil, I ordered that book and people told me it was going to lead me to passing. I can't even find myself to get motivated to go into that book. I can't find myself to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm feeling burnt out. I can't handle this. I started watching your videos. I feel comfortable and confident now. Should I feel comfortable and confident? And it's like, yes, you should feel comfortable and confident because you're more competent based on the fact that you just got connected to somebody that understands and is teaching in the way that you want to be taught and that your ear is open and ready to. And we do every single day. We could have 5 people tell us the same piece of advice and then somebody else tells us that piece of advice in a way that we need to hear it, and then we run to it. We run to it faster than we've ever heard, and the 5 people that just told us that piece of advice are now pissed off. Why? Because they have been telling us that same exact thing, but we were not even open to that message. So we need to start opening our minds and not being too fluid and just going to whatever influence you need to hear. Well, this person does this really well. This person does this. So now I have a backpack full of things, but when life comes and I have to dictate what strategy and technique I'm going to do, I have no clue because I just have practiced 1,000 kicks one time and I need to be the person that practiced the one kick 1,000 times. Stop running to the things that feel comfortable and start sitting in the things that are uncomfortable until they become comfortable, because the exam's not comfortable. So the more uncomfortable you become, the more comfortable you are when discomfort comes. So the more stressful situations you put yourself in, you are going to be so conditioned and so trained and so ready to get into those other conditions and situations that it's going to feel like a breeze. Why? Because when you go through something, you have the experience, and in order to have experience, you must have experienced something. But if you've never experienced something as difficult or as complex or as pushing and challenging as the thing that you're experiencing right now, it's going to feel like you're dying. But as long as you can put your fingers on your throat and say, wow, I feel a heartbeat still, or you put your hand over your chest and feel a heartbeat, you still have a purpose and you still have a mission in front of you. And that's you need to start getting more structure within your situation. But if you have too much structure, because that's the other extreme, too much rigidity can cause you to suffocate. Why? Because if I'm too rigid and I'm putting myself into a coffin, I can't move. So then if I start seeing something that might work for me and I'm trying to throw away the things that haven't worked for me, I'm going to be like, well, I can't do this. The other people before me that came and told me it was better. No, you need to start telling yourself what you need to see within your situation. You need to be willing to put that effort in. You need to be willing to do that self-reflection and know things can change and everyone changes every single day. But if you are not willing to learn from the things that you've been through or the situations you've been put in, even if they didn't go how you were supposed to, you had to experience everything that you went through at this given moment to be where you're at. I had to go everything that I went through. You had to go through everything that you went through. And in a real life example right now is my roommate. Those that know things about me, my roommate's trying to go to med school. He had to take his MCAT. He studied a long amount of time. He was obsessive with this. He walks in, didn't get the score that he wanted, and we're sitting there last night, and I'm not feeling as motivated this week, and we're just sitting there and talking, and a thing that popped in my mind, and I said it was like, yo, you had to go through that attempt and see that everything that you were doing didn't work for you to now develop a preparation that works for you better. And now you're feeling better. Your mental health is better. And the situation is likely going to be better when you walk in a couple of weeks and you're not having to drag yourself in and you're not having to like pull yourself and get motivated in some way, shape, or form, because when you are walking and doing the things that you need to be doing with and for yourself, you're going to start running rather than having to drag yourself along like a dog that doesn't have the energy to get the job done. Because if you are not in the situation for the right reasons, you are not going to be able to perform, which leads me to my next point. Stop being performance focused. Stop being so results driven. You didn't go into research, so why are you so results driven? And what do I mean by that? I get so mad when people send me emails. Not that I get mad when people send me emails, but hear me out. I get mad when people are like, well, this program said I had to get 75%. Well, this person told me I had to get 90%. This person told me I need to focus on this. This exam result told me I needed to do this. And then I walked in and only focused on that. And then I got beaten up by the other areas. And it's like, do not be so focused on the result. My biggest mission and why I feel like I hope people become so successful is I tell them it's not whether you get things right or wrong or if you did the right thing. It's what was the process did you take to get there, and what did that feel like for you? And if you walked in the exam, gave everything you had, and mapped it out based on the routine that you felt comfortable with, that's going to be a lot easier than if you were just flapping in the wind, second guessing yourself, adding details to the question, going too darn fast when you know better than that, and not being so results driven. Because if you're like, well, I got 80% on the exams on the program that told me I had to get 75%, so I should just walk into the exam and slice the exam's neck off like it was easy, and then I found myself on my back having to look up because I just got knocked out. I didn't even have any clue what these questions were asking me because I was used to just jumping to the answer quick and finding the easiest questions I could, because when I found the preparation or the program or the app on my phone that the questions were so easy, I felt good. I felt pumped up. But when life challenges you and puts you into situations where you weren't ready for them, you were going to get knocked out. You were going to get knocked on your butt, but it's not, did you get knocked on your butt? It's how many times did you get knocked on your butt? How many times did you stand up? And how many times are you willing to walk into the fire and expect to not get burnt? That's the thing, is you have to be so fired up based on the thing that you know is right that you're doing, and not whether you did it right or wrong. It's how did you get there? How did you feel while doing it? What do you need to do to make yourself feel better? Who do you need to get connected to? And what do you need to do? Stop being so results driven, because the results you're focusing on aren't even equivalent to the things that are in front of you at this given moment. You are getting put through the experiences and situations that you need to be put through to get you onto the other side, to have the lessons and blessings on that other side of that experience. So when you are walking through practice questions, you should not ask yourself, well, did I get it right or wrong? Well, I got the majority of the questions wrong today, so I must not be ready, or I need to be unmotivated, or there must be something wrong with me. And it's like, no, how did you get the answers wrong? What were the things and tendencies and situations that you put yourself in to make that the case? And should you continue going on? In the days that you're walking through, you're like, man, I'm cutting through these questions easy. You're hanging your hat up and feeling good about yourself, which isn't a bad thing, but you need to have the equivalency and the reaction of the good days and the bad days. So if you're having bad days, you need to be excited, if not more excited on those days than the days that things are going well. Because everyone is willing to celebrate and feel good when things are going well. When things aren't going well, people are ready to throw in the towel. They're ready to surrender. They're willing to give up whatever mission or goal that they have in front of them. So stop being so performance and results driven, in a phrase that I've said from the absolute very first beginning, and that I live out in my life, and that I recommend people to listen to. And if you've never heard me say this, I think you might enjoy it as well. It's not what you do that makes you who you are. It's who you are while doing that makes you who you are. And what do I mean by that? You do not have to do the most amazing things to be an amazing person. You don't have to be doing crazy things. You don't have to be doing backflips. You don't have to be passing your exams. You don't have to be doing anything to be an amazing person that is worthwhile to anything in the situation. But there are people that do amazing things, but they're not good people. They're not amazing people. So when they get the opportunities and situations that they thought that they would want, they're not able to sustain them because they didn't prepare for it, and their character is going to get exposed in some way, shape, or form. That's why you need to be consistent and sit yourself down and say, am I willing to give 100% of myself to get to the goal that I want to? And if you're not willing to, that's okay. You can hang your hat up. You can do whatever you need to do with and for the situation. But my biggest recommendation is to identify why you're doing that, bad boy. Like, what are you doing in the situation, and why do you want to get there? Like, what does this mean for you? What does it mean for you to walk into the exam and pass? And a lot of times people are like, well, I want to do X, Y, or Z. Why? Why do you want that job? Why do you want that opportunity? And what did it take for you to get there? Like, what did it take for you to get there? Way too many times people forget where they come from or what situations they had to go to and go through to get to where they're at right now. Way too many times. We get too comfortable. It's too difficult to think about what I had to go through to get here. So if you are taking the exam for the 4th, 5th, 6th time, maybe it's your second time, maybe it's your first time, what situations did you have to go through and what did it take to get to where you're at right now? And that's what I mean is a lot of times we're like, well, I just went through grad school. I have a master's degree, of course. My program was good. I should just be able to walk into this exam. And when you get knocked down, because a lot of this is your first time losing. This is your first time losing or failing something in your life in any way, shape, or form. And that's good. Why? Because we all need to fail. And if you're not willing to put yourself into situations where you're willing to fail, you're not going to accomplish a whole lot in any situation. Every situation that you put yourself in, there should be a risk or chance of you failing. And if not, put yourself into those situations, because when you fail, you'll actually get excited, you'll want to learn from it, and you want to grow into the best possible version of yourself. But if you always stay safe, you always stay locked in, you always grab onto the things that are easy, you're not going to be so fulfilled to the fact that you want to push yourself to be the best possible version of yourself, which leads me into my 4th point, and the biggest reason why a lot of times people do not believe in themselves, or they want that extracurricular or like external like gratification or that instant gratification, is other people. They're trying to people please, or they're comparing themselves to other people when the situations aren't equivalent. And what do I mean by that? What does it look like for you to people please? You're like, well, my friends want me to do this. My supervisor wants me to do this. I feel like my agency wants me to do this because they have this position for me. And if I don't do this, I'm going to let them down. And man, I feel like if I fail, I can't tell my coworkers, and my coworkers are going to hate me and all of these things. And it's like, but what is your perception of the thing? What is your perception of that job that they want you to have? What is your perception of you passing? What is your perception of being around people when you know that they've passed and you haven't? What is your perception in this situation? Because way too many times we're willing to put the buck onto somebody else, and we're willing to project and blame other people. Shut up to Freud. We want to project it onto somebody else and say, well, that person's going to be mad if I don't pass the exam. You're going to be mad if you don't pass the exam. You need to be willing to look at yourself and say, I'm so mad at myself for not being able to get this situation done, but I have the solution in me. I have the drive in me. I have the motivation in me, and I will get where I need to go based on the fact that I have the fuel to get there. Nothing has ever stopped me in this situation, and the only thing that's going to stop me from being able to pass the exam is if they kill me. Unless they kill me in that exam, I'm not going to stop trying. It may be not on the 9th time. It may not be on the 10th time. It may not be on the 11th time. But I will keep driving and investing and burning through everything I have, because this is what I want for my life. And if you're not willing to say that I want this for my life, that's okay. That is all right, but you cannot be half the time I'm pumped up and motivated, and the other half of the time you're willing to pack the bags and let it go. You need to be willing to look at yourself and say, I want this, regardless of what the situation says, regardless of what someone else says, regardless of what anyone else has said to me. So put those blinders on. Why? Because you need to put yourself into solitary based on the fact that people are going to put pressure on you, or if you feel they're putting pressure on you, you need to be willing to cut that off, because when you're in that exam room, or you're in that goal that you want to get, or you're in the fire, you need to be willing to protect and rescue yourself out of this situation. No one else's opinion of you, no one else's advice to you, no one else's techniques to you, no one else's strategies to you are going to get you closer to the goal than your own mind, effort, and body, motivation, drive, energy. Any of those things are going to get you closer to your goal than if I tell you, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. You have to be willing to look at yourself and say, I can do this with anything on the line, and I'm going to get where I need to go based on the fact that I've been through way too much to give up. So that's where you need to stop also comparing yourself to other people, because even though your friend passed it on the first time, maybe they passed it on the second time, maybe the third time, maybe they haven't even taken it yet and they're trying to tell you what to do. You cannot look at your other friends and say, well, my coworkers passed on the first time. I helped someone else pass the exam on the first time, but I simply can't walk in there and do it. It must be a racket. It must be rigged against me. It's not rigged against you. You need to stop comparing yourself to them because they're not taking the same exam as you. And what do you mean by that, Phil? They're taking the same credentialed exam as I am. Yes, but they're not getting the same questions. This is no longer a college class. This isn't collegiate level exam. This is a professional level exam that is being pooled from a large amount of questions, and you can't say, well, my friend passed it on this and they said their exam only had this and my exam had something else on it and mine must have been more difficult. They are the same exam based on the fact that the score of the exam fluctuates, but it's fluctuated based on the weight of the questions. So you need to stop comparing yourself to other people and start beating up on that negative mentality and start beating up on the exam and projecting that mentality and positive energy and tenacity towards the exam. And why do I say that? Because if you are dragging yourself down based on the fact that other people have done something that you want to do, or if somebody tells you, man, I passed the exam already, and you're mad that they did, that is something within you when you're not celebrating somebody else based on the fact that you are jealous and mad that they are where you want to be, when you need to be looking at them and saying, I'm so glad that you got there and I'm going to be there as well. I just have to go through my go-through and go through the missions and situations that are going to put me in a position to be in a better position than I was before. That's where you have to be willing to look at yourself and say, I'm going to put the blinders on. I'm not going to listen to people. I'm not going to talk to people. I'm not going to hear anything that people tell me. I only need positive vibes, positive people, and positive energy in my life, because positive results, positive vibes, and positive thoughts equal positive results every single time. The more negative you are, the more negative people you're around, the more negative environment you're in, equals more negative results. Why? Because if you're breeding negativity or hear negativity, it's going to be more natural for you to grab negativity or embrace that negativity or embrace that angst or embrace all of these things that are not going to be positive for you to walk into that situation. So putting on blinders and knowing you're so uniquely gifted and talented within your situation and you're being put in the unique path for you to get to the unique positions that are destined for you to get there. There are lessons that you need to learn that maybe that other person didn't need to learn, or you're going to be learning the positions of not everything happens on the first time, but when I put the hard work in, because you're going to do way bigger things than that person did that pass on the first time. And there's no guarantees, but these are the things you have to tell yourself is, I have to go through my go-through in order to get to where I need to go through. Everyone has different paths, everyone has different missions, everyone has different skill sets, everyone has different things that they have to go through to get the mindset and talents and the gifts that they are supposed to have. I didn't automatically have comfortability on the camera, and you can look back at my earlier videos. I had to go through those anxious moments. I had to go through those crappy quality videos with the camera barely even going on and with the blanket and the lamp behind me. And those have been repping with me a long time. You know that the blanket and the window and the craziness and the headphones and stuff, I had to go through those moments to know how sweet it is to now have a really, really nice mic, a really, really nice camera, and people repping and rocking with me. But I have the same energy, the same motivation, the same perspective, the same motivation, and the same energy, and the same focus, and the same things that I was doing back then are still here. I just have a bigger audience and bigger motivation to be able to get it done, based on the fact that now that I know that these things work, and when you have confidence, comfortability in who you are and where you're coming from, where you're going to be going is way bigger than anything you could have ever imagined. Which leads me to my fifth point, is staying consistent. You need to be consistent in any way that you can. And that leads me back to the first part of the rigidity versus fluidity. And people think consistency is doing the same exact thing over and over and over and getting similar results. No, consistency is having the motivation to do different things within that same realm of the thing and being able to be comfortable with you not being able to do the same thing over and over and over. So if you're consistent, you are thinking consistently about how you can improve in whatever skill set and arena you're doing. So for example, if my goal is to exercise every single day, just because I didn't go and run 2 miles today doesn't mean I can't drop down to do 10 push-ups and say, well, that 10 push-ups is still a form of exercise and I'm okay with that, but the goal is to do the 2 miles. But if my schedule doesn't warrant me to do the 2 miles, I'm going to drop down and give myself 10, maybe 25, maybe 100. Who knows? Maybe you're difficulty and all these things are different. Everyone has a different set, but you need to make sure as long as what you're doing is pushing you forward, the better off you're going to be. And how you stay focused is remembering the goal behind it. So if my goal is to exercise every single day, and my goal is not to be like super duper and fit and all this, maybe it's I want to live as long as I possibly can. My goal is to live as long as I possibly can. So someone may be exercising to get a six-pack, somebody may be doing all of these things, but we have the same goal. We're still doing the same activity, but my drive and motivation behind what I'm doing may be stronger because I'm going to do it longer. Because if the static result's not there, I may stop doing it. But that's where you have to spin it in the exam realm of, I'm going to stay focused on taking and passing this exam based on the fact that this is what it's going to unlock for me. And for those that know, why I started and wanted to pass the exam was to propel my family into a better financial situation and show them when hard work is put in, things are going to start working for you. When I took and passed the exam, I didn't know that I would be helping people pass the exam, but I knew that what I had to go through during that time was teaching me the worth of hard work, because after I passed my exam, that's when I picked up a second job and I was banking clinical hours. Was I able to get my licensure sooner? No, but I knew those clinical hours were going to lead me to the opportunity and be able to help other people be more clinically sharp, or show people that if you have a goal in front of you, to accomplish it. So now when I walk into jobs, I can say, yeah, I had 2 jobs basically the whole time and I was doing all these clinical things and I have all of these clinical hours, but I don't do that big time. I just say, I put myself through this experience, so any experience that you're likely going to put in front of me, I'm going to be ready and motivated and hungry for, because when I don't know how to do something, I'm more hungry and motivated to get it done. So when it comes to the exam, which leads me to, why did I say that when you fail the exam, you should be motivated and pumped up and excited? Because you now have the opportunity to grow, assess, address, and kill whatever you need to kill. And that may be, okay, maybe I was not as willing to invest in myself that time. Let's invest in myself, which will show me when I have something that I want to accomplish. If I invest in myself, it could breed a better result. Oh, it's okay to invest in myself. So now after you walk in and pass the exam, after investing in yourself, maybe it's not even monetarily, maybe it's not monetarily investing in yourself, but maybe you are more willing to do self-care. Okay, when I get into a job, I need to make sure I build in self-care because I was willing to invest in myself mentally, and so that way I can maintain it. So that is what I mean, is a lot of times people only focus their motivations based on money and the best money that they could possibly get. But we could have time investment, we could have energy investment, we could have social investment. All these different things are transactions that we choose to do within our situation. But if our motivation and drive to get that result or that thing that we're trying to do isn't there, we're not going to be as consistent. But if I'm pumped up and motivated and somebody's like, if you pass this exam, it's going to allow for your kids to never suffer and you'll never go without a meal again, you're going to be way more consistent and motivated than if it's like, it's not even really a big deal for you and your job and situation isn't really going to change. That's where you have to really flip the mindset of, what is my job and situation that I want to have? Even though my current job's not on the line, what do I want for myself? So a lot of times I ask people, what do you want for yourself? And they're like, well, I'm not really sure. Well, then you need to map that bad boy out, because when you have something to shoot for, life has a way of making it happen. You have a way of investing extra energy and sacrificing in some way to make it happen. But if you're just fluid and willy-nilly, like, I'll get it someday, you need to get it whatever day you want to get it, because that is what you need to start doing with yourself, is not being so comfortable and careful and saying, well, I'll get it someday. It's like, well, then what is someday? Someday can happen any day, but your life can get taken today, and that someday may never happen. And that's where you have to start putting your head is, if I do not do it today, when will I do it? And it may not be in the time that I'm actually able to do it. And who am I robbing of showing them of that process of being able to get the job done in some way, shape, or form? Hope you guys found this helpful. Like I said, I appreciate every single one of you that is repping and rocking with me and that are taking in benefits and walking into the exams, becoming the best possible version of yourselves. For those that are thumbsing up the video, those that are posting positive comments, those that are going to the study groups, those that are engaging in individual tutoring, those that are just sending positive emails and vibes towards me, I really, really appreciate every single one of you. Please keep investing in yourself. Please keep building yourself up. Please keep practicing self-care. And even if you're not where you want to be right now, know that that doesn't have to last a lifetime, because you have the rest of your life to make time for what you want to see in your situation. Some situations come easier than others, but as long as you're willing to put the focus and energy and drive and put that motivation to use, you are going to be where you want to be. It may not be on your timeline, but it will be on the correct timeline, because we're always right where we need to be when we need to be there. And we are getting set up and programmed and put into processes that we don't even know are going to be leading us to better results or better situations than we thought. Do not get down on yourself when you find yourself getting down on yourself. Just find a way to pick yourself up and keep doing the things that you need to do. Again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you. If you need anything, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. Take care of you guys' self. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out, guys.